Hello, my name is Katie Whittakin and I am an intuitive life coach, which basically means that I help empower my clients to connect to their own internal sense of wisdom, gain clarity on where they want to go so that they can move forward with confidence in their lives. And today I'm answering another question that I received from some clients, which is really about what I like to call it learning how to drive your own car, or essentially why we get stuck in a trap where we give up our power. So let's dig in. So I'm going to introduce this concept by telling a personal story. I am the mother of two boys, and my youngest son one day came to me very upset, asking if he could have candy for breakfast. And at this point, he was about 9 years old. And instead of telling him what he could or couldn't do, I really wanted him to be empowered with what decisions. I wanted him to practice how to make decisions for himself and experiencing the outcomes of those decisions so that he could then move forward learning how to make decisions for himself and feeling confident about his ability to do that. And so I said, well, you're 9 years old now, and so I think you're ready to start driving your own car more often. And he says, what do you mean? And I said, well, we've talked a lot about how certain foods make us feel, how sugar might make us feel, how sleeping enough or not sleeping enough makes us feel. We've talked a lot about these things. And you know that I don't recommend eating, candy in the morning or even before lunch. And I don't even recommend eating a lot of sugar. And I don't recommend this and I don't recommend that. And I've given you all my reasons as to why. So there's nothing more I can provide to you that isn't something you don't already know. So at this point, it's up to you to make the decision. And he became extremely upset. Why can't you just tell me what I should do? Why can't you? I'm so angry with you. Why can't you just tell me whether I can or cannot? And I said, and I remained calm, and I could see what was unfolding in front of me, which is just that he was resisting driving his own car. And what I mean by that is we all are in our own little individual cars driving through life. And as long as we're sitting in the driver's seat, then we have a sense of responsibility for the direction we're steering ourselves. And we have a sense of empowerment in choosing the direction we're steering ourselves. But with that empowerment comes the responsibility. If we take a turn that we don't like so much, it was the turn we made. So then we have to, accept that and make a different decision on the next turn, right? So we can't blame anybody else for the turns we choose to make when we're driving our own car. However, if we allow someone else to drive our car, and make decisions for us, then we get to sit in the back seat and be a backseat driver and yell at them, well, you shouldn't have made that turn and that didn't turn out good. And look at that now, look at where we are now. Thanks a lot. But it's kind of, if you've ever experienced backseat driving, it's criticisms from the cheap seats in many ways because they're not actually taking the responsibility to make the decisions on where to turn. And yet they're criticizing you for where you've decided to turn, which is why I don't recommend you ever drive anybody else's car, nor do you allow someone else to drive your car. Now, when children are young, there's a lot of driving cars for them to a certain extent, but as they get older, we start giving them the opportunity to start experimenting with jumping in that driver's seat and making some choices, and we don't save them from the wrong turn. We say, oh, wait, don't go that way. That'll end up bad. No, we let them make that turn, and then they see, oh, that didn't turn out the way I like, and then they learn from that, and they make a different choice the next time they're faced with that turn. And the older they get, the more they're sitting in that driver's seat. Well, 9 years old, in my opinion, is an age where it's time to start spending some more time in that driver's seat. So I said, well, again, you know all my recommendations, you know all my suggestions, and you know all my reasons as to why I don't recommend candy in the morning. This is your decision. And when he became really angry, I just asked him some questions, or I pointed out some obvious parts of it, which is, I can see why you might be upset. It would be a lot easier to be mad at me if I told you you couldn't have candy than it would be to be mad at yourself if you chose to have candy and then didn't feel good after. And he got quiet and he heard that and he said, yeah, Mom, you're right. And I said, I trust you to make the decision that's right for you. And my recommendations and the decisions I would make for myself may not be the right ones for you. Perhaps you need to have candy in the morning. Perhaps you need to experience what that leads to, whether you start craving sugar all day long, but you can't have it, so it ends up creating more suffering for you. Or perhaps it doesn't. Perhaps you have candy and you enjoy it and you don't have any more the rest of the day, and you discover that, hey, that little amount in the morning was actually okay, and it gave you a sense of freedom and control. I don't know what the right decision is for you because I'm not driving your car. I can only share with you what I would do if I were driving my car through that intersection. So his anger subsided and he said, you're right, Mom. It's time for me to start driving my own car. And I said, great. So what are you going to do? He says, I'm going to have candy. And I said, okay. And I didn't pass judgment. I didn't say, oh, wait, no, but don't turn that way. I just let him drive his own car. And as a result, he became empowered, remembering that he did have a lot of choices to make in his life, and that with those choices comes responsibility for those choices. And that if it didn't go well, it was only himself he had to that was accountable for those decisions. Turns out he felt just fine. And he did crave sugar the other day. He did recognize that he didn't like the increased craving throughout the day and having to resist it for sugar for the rest of the day. And after that, chose not to have candy in the morning anymore. No more asking me if he could or could not. He just chose not to. Occasionally on a holiday or a special occasion, he might break that. He might make a different turn in his car at that same intersection, but in general, he learned from that, and now he's more empowered to make those decisions for himself, knowing that he doesn't have to rely on me to make those decisions for him. I tell you this story because this is not just within a parenting-child relationship. This is really common, especially with our family members, our spouses, our loved ones, our siblings, our parents, older parents. We find ourselves all too willing to jump into the driver's seat of someone else's car and tell them what they should do and not do, or tell them what they can and cannot do. And in many ways, it comes from a place of wanting to save the suffering of someone else. But are we robbing them the opportunity to have their own experience of the decision they made and learn from it so that they can decide if that's the decision they want to make the next time? So, on the flip side of this situation, if you're someone who tends to jump in your back seat and let other people drive your car, it means you're giving up your power. It means you're waiting to be told what to do. You're waiting to be told how it should be, and not exerting any of your own decision-making in how your own car is being driven. You'll know that you're sitting in the backseat of your car if you're feeling really resentful of the person that you've placed in that driver's seat, or the person who's decided and willing to hop in that driver's seat. And you'll notice a sense of disempowerment. You'll notice a sense of stagnation. And these are the clues that you might be in the backseat of your own car. So, as you embark on your life, I encourage you to bring awareness to the decisions that you're making, whether or not you always defer and let all decisions be made by others, or whether or not you allow your personal preferences and decisions to be known. And whether or not you are willing to accept the responsibility for the decisions that you're making. It's a lot easier to have someone else tell you, well, should I take this job or not? What do you think? And you can gather, opinions, but ultimately the decision is yours. May you have a wonderful day, and please leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions that you would like addressed in a future video. Thank you.